This episode of the Seventh Valkyrie Podcast is brought to you entirely by fan support. To help keep the series ad-free, get early access and bonus features, browse gear and apparel, join the community, or watch the series come to life in living color, you can check out the links in the description. Hello, everybody. Who am I? I'm Colin Sharp, the author and creator of the Seventh Valkyrie and voice and host of the Seventh Valkyrie Podcast. We got a short one today. This was a little compact little nugget. Kind of in the similar vein as last week, where I was just kind of throwing out stuff that I'm like, hey, here are little things that I do in my life that, when I told people about them, they're like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thought. So I thought, oh, I'll come over and share them. And I'm not going to do the whole bit about that little, oh, again. Wow. Anyway, but so the title of this episode is called What's Your Soul 7? And I came up with this idea, I forget when, but I was just like, I know there are things that I do during the day that are like really important, like I need to do them, and I need to remind myself to do them if I don't, because sometimes like what will happen is if I don't do these like important self-care tasks, or like if I don't do them in the day, then I'll notice myself being like grumpy, and then I'll be like, and then I'll avoid doing them further, and then I'll be like, and then I'll just get kind of in a little grump zone. Anyway, so I put together a list of the things that I feel like I need to do every single day that, to really make my soul feel nourished. And I called them Soul 7 because, first of all, I like to put the word soul in front of anything. I like 7 because it's a number, and I like alliteration. So, I don't know, fuck you. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I really love you. I apologize, Mom. Please don't. I apologize. Anyway. So the Soul 7 is the 7 things you need to do every day to be content. And I think 7's a good number. Mostly because I like the number 7 a whole lot. How did you guys know? But I think it forces you to kind of make a reasonable list. Like, you can do 7 things every day. But like, if you're like, oh, I need 14 things on a checklist, and even if it's just like 2 or 3 for you, though I think, adding 7 gave me a little bit of just a little bit of versatility, a little bit of variability, and kind of covered a wide range of things I needed to do. So anyway, all of this to say, so my Soul 7, and I wanted to let me make sure I've got all of this, and I ask myself this whenever I'm checking. I go, hey, have you, number 1, meditated / stretched / breathed? Sometimes it's just like taking, have you taken a moment to just be in your own thoughts, no distractions, no time? Have you had stillness? And that's a thing I ask myself every single day. Have you exercised? I'm a big exercise hound. And even if I don't go to the gym, because, throwing it down in the gym can be exhausting if you do it 7 days a week, I will ride my bike, or I will go for a walk, or I'll go swim some laps in the pool, or just anything, some form of exercise, because I know that makes me healthier, just like I know that the other stuff, some form of stillness and meditation, also helps. Number 3, taking meds. I have mental health medication. Very small stuff. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's like kicking the stigma. It's not, some people just have like slight brain biochemical imbalances that it's really helpful to have just like a little bit of like go from 5 minutes past the hour back to 12. And so I know that I have to take those every single day, and it makes my life better. I don't know, my voice cracked towards the end of that. Being out in nature, super vital. Like, there was a time where, and I don't know why this happens, but like if you've been inside all day, and if I've been inside all day, I start to get crazy. I start to get like antsy and depressed, and just the act of like going outside and leaving your home, I think it has to do with just, some ancient need to be like, all right, cool, like I have to do something today because we are living, moving creatures. So that's really nice. And being out in nature, specifically as opposed to like in a city, is like, oh, okay, fresh air, like no concrete, like living things, which is really, really, really nice. On to our last three. Number 3 is seen, interacted with, or loved some humans. I think just as important as it is to connect with nature and connect with yourself, it's really important to connect with other people at least once per day. And like for me, like hopefully, usually the gym lets me go do that. But if not, I make sure I go out and I see my friends, or I go for a walk, or I go down into town and get some ice cream, like an ice cream cone, not just like going to the grocery store, and just kind of sit and enjoy, because it's like, there's something about being in touch with this human race that, like, for all that we can get divided and grumpy at each other, we are social creatures, and it's just like you need to feed that every day. Doodly doot. For me is number 6, which I don't know. It probably won't work for you guys, because for me number 6 is working on the Seventh Valkyrie, which that would be really weird if you guys were. Please don't. I think that would be copyright infringement. And I'm sure you guys all have more wonderful stories to tell that are unique to yourself. But for me, it's like following some passion, and maybe for you that's whatever it is. Like, but for me, like that is a passion for me, and doing something that I'm truly passionate about is on my Soul 7. And finally, number 7 is, have you eaten good food and drank enough water? Because for all of this stuff, like, we are physical creatures, and it's amazing to me how many people just don't like forget that, like, for your soul to feel good, your body got to feel good too. Like, if you drink a gallon of Mountain Dew and 3 Hot Pockets, which I used to do, and did until it caught up with me when I was a teenager, or I guess it caught up with me when I was like in my early 20s. Like, if you give yourself good food, it's amazing how much better you feel and how much better your life is. So anyway, what is your Soul 7? I hope, maybe I usually post that question, like post the podcast episodes on Reddit. So if anyone wants to hop into that thread, I'll be responding to everywhere. But in addition to that, I just think it's an interesting challenge to say, hey, what do you need to do every day? What's on your checklist to really feel fulfilled? And again, be realistic, like something that you can do consistently, like not 18 things. Because again, like that's going back to what I was talking about before, like try to do less and you might end up doing more. So anyway, that is this episode of the Seventh Valkyrie for now. Bada bing, bada boom. Mr. Worldwide when I step in the room. I'm not a hustler, baby, but that you know. Oh my god, did I just really quote 3 lines of Pitbull? I'm so ashamed of myself. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Seventh Valkyrie Podcast, which is brought to you entirely by fan support. To help keep the series ad-free, get early access and bonus features, browse gear and apparel, join the community, or watch the series come to life in living color, you can check out the links in the description.